Alright, welcome to what will be the first in a series of videos where I just revisit and react to some of my old content. I'm going to call this an honest look at an honest look because it will be focused on my honest look series of videos. And in this preamble, we're probably only going to do the first one, even though it's 8 minutes long, and this video is probably going to be half an hour because I want to just talk about the thought process behind my whole channel and kind of its history. I know I've said this and reiterated this time and time again, but this is also going to serve as kind of like a history of my channel because I've been doing this for 6 years now, which is a long time, and I have enjoyed the small amount of success I have gotten. I never wanted to be a full-time YouTuber. I just don't want to deal with having hundreds of comments every day. I'm not about that. I also never want to be in a position to where my livelihood relies on my creativity. I want to be able to take as many breaks for as long as I want, just overall. Like, I don't ever want YouTube to be my day job. So, background. Early 2016. That's how far back we're going. Obama was still president. RWBY Volume 3 was still going. And I had just built my very first computer. I was planning on doing a massive fanfiction project, which ended up being RWBY On. I was not calling it RWBY On at that point. It was just being called RWBY Fanfiction Project. RWBY On was kind of a last minute name. I was like, oh shit, I need a title for this whole thing. The RWBY On. That sounds cool. And it is. So then I was planning on doing that, and I kind of needed Volume 3 to be over before I actually started writing that. So while I was waiting, I was practicing editing because I was a huge fan of Spill.com back when they were around, and they're double toasted now. And I didn't know that they had completely kind of broken up and that Corey and Martin started doing double toasted yet. So I was really just missing that kind of content, and I wanted to make content like that, and I still do. It's why I have so much fun on the podcast and don't have so much fun making these videos. And that's another reason why I never want to be a full-time YouTuber. I don't like editing. I don't like the process of making a video is just torturous to me. I shouldn't say never. There are very, very few videos on my channel that I actually actively enjoyed making. But I do this for fun. I do this for the end product. I always begin with the end in mind. And that's why, I never do a video half-heartedly. And I never do a video unless it is something that I think is important for me to say, or something that I think I can contribute to the conversation. And that's why I started with RWBY, because at the time, none of the big RWBY YouTubers had the same opinions of RWBY that I did. And I felt like I was going insane. I felt like I was going insane because I was the only one who saw RWBY in the way that I saw it, and I needed to talk about it. That was also one of the reasons why I led to, I started writing RWBY On, was so that I could be like, okay, this is how I see the characters, and this is where I think the story is ultimately going. Give or take a few arcs that are just straight up ripped off from Naruto and Fullmetal Alchemist. And Batman Arkham Knight. And One Punch Man. And a bunch of other stuff that I'm into. Not a lot of One Piece, though, because I wasn't really into One Piece when I was writing RWBY On. I actually kind of really fell in love with One Piece right around the time that I was ending RWBY On. But that's 2018. That was a few years later. So then, RWBY RWBY Volume 4 started, and I started doing videos on RWBY. And the team theory fiasco has been stated and restated a lot, but suffice to say, I was part of Team Theory, which was a Facebook group run by Jake the One Man Band, who is one of the bigger YouTubers within the RWBY community at that time. And by the time RWBY Volume 4 ended, Team Theory would not be around, but we would. So, High Powered was also part of that group, and he created a Facebook group chat. The Facebook group chat kind of blew up, so he had to create a Discord in order to account for everyone. And then when Volume 4, Episode 3 came out, that was the Blake episode with her and Son and the Sea Dragon Grim. We had a really heated conversation. And that is how the podcast started, was from this just random, organic argument between me and CJ, one of the original RWBY podcast cast members, about Blake. He likes her, or liked her. I'm not sure where he stands now, and I hated her. And now I'm kind of just neutral on her. So, I was just doing weekly reviews on RWBY Volume 4. Then, as RWBY Volume 4 ended, Valentine's Day was coming up, and I decided to do the RWBY shipping video, which is... I didn't have a whole lot of fun making this because I was still using Windows Movie Maker at the time. I was using literally the worst video editing software. For the first couple of these, actually, that remained true. But the end product, this is still one of my favorite videos I've ever done. Sadly, I will not be watching it as part of the series because it's not technically an honest look. It predates the honest look moniker, and also it's been copyright claimed by like 10 different people because I use musical interludes to introduce all the ships. Just watch that video. It's still just one of my best works. And it's certainly the best thing I did during the Movie Maker era. So when that went over really well, I started doing a What If RWBY Was Good series related to Belated Media. I only ever did Volume 1. And the reason is I started scripting Volume 2 and I couldn't figure out what to do with Team Coffee. I wanted them in the show because they're in the show proper. I didn't want to cut characters. But I couldn't figure out what to do with them. But I'm bringing up What If RWBY Volume 1 Was Good because that's actually how I first met Raymond McNeil over at Celtic Phoenix Productions, and we've been good friends ever since. So then there's the whole conversation about like which RWBY volume is best. I weighed in on the conversation. I think Volume 4 is better than Volume 3, though I do think there are aspects of Volume 3 that haven't really been topped since. Namely, the finale. I think RWBY Volume 3 still has the single best finale episode in all of RWBY. The only ones that even come close would be like Volume 8's finale, and that's it. That's the only one that even comes close. Then, I was also on RWBY Amino at this time, and I think it was on RWBY Amino. It might have been on a Facebook group that I put up a poll being like, what should I do a video on? And Team Coffee was one of the options, and Team Coffee was what ended up winning. So then I had to try to find a way to con all the coffee fans into watching me shit on this team for 8 minutes straight. And it was glorious. I love the reactions I got from this. Just all the salt and vinegar just fueled me. I think this might be my most viewed video of all time. I know for a long time it was the RWBY shipping video, which has 62K now. Honest Look at Coffee has 63K. That might be my most viewed video of all time. And it is probably my most divisive one, because I pull no punches. And this is where I came up with the name Honest Look, and it was it is a very honest video. That's why we're doing this, because I have not actually watched this in about 5 years. It's probably been because when I get done with the video, I don't like to listen back on them. I'll like preview it or whatever before I upload it. But once it's uploaded and done, I don't watch it anymore. I haven't watched, kind of scrolling through. Yeah, I don't think I've watched hardly any of these videos since I uploaded them. And so this is going to be really interesting. I need to put the Volume 9 video in this playlist. I kind of forgot to do that. But, so yeah, we're going to jump in and honest look at coffee. Let's see how it is.
So, let's talk about Team Coffee.
Let's talk about that mic quality. Audio editing is the hardest thing for me because I don't have a good ear for it. But that is not why the audio in most of these is going to be garbage. I use a Blue Yeti microphone that Dude What the Heck got for me for my birthday in 2018. And this has been my primary mic. I've actually kept good care of it. Like, it's the same mic that I'm using right now. Is the same one. It might have been 2019 when I got it. So the first 2 to 3 years worth of content on my channel were recorded using like either a really cheap gaming headset mic, like the one that came with these headphones, or a fucking iPhone mic. Or I think there's a few where I actually used the mic on my webcam. But that ended up being the worst option out of all of them. So I think there's only like 1 or 2 videos that use that. And I don't know if any of them are in the Honest Look playlist. So yeah, this, I think I was using a gaming headset mic for this video.
Coco Adele, Fox Alistair, Velvet Scarlatina, and Yatsuhashi Daichi, the second-year team that slaughtered all the Grimm to the thunderous applause of thousands of fanboys.
I wanna go back and look at these vintage things. Anyone here think that Team Coffee should get their own miniseries as could help us find out a bit more about them, e.g. background, as well as giving Fox and Yatsuhashi voices? You got the books later on. A couple years after this, they would get their own, like, 2-book series. But that's the best you're probably ever gonna get.
Thousands of fanboys and desperate.
Who's the greatest RWBY character? And then Velvet. Oh, that's right. It's all Coffee. So, I centered out his name. I don't do that anymore because I was still trying to play nice with the RWBY fandom and stuff. But there came a point. And it's not just the RWBY fandom. There came a point where I decided, you know what? If you put shit out on social media, it is fair game.
Need of a clue. But what is the purpose of Team Coffee?
Hold on, what was that sound?
What is the purpose of Team Coffee? Applause of thousands of fanboys in desperate need of a clue. But what is the purpose of Team Coffee? Did I hit my desk
there and leave it in?
How did they get so popular?
Like, I could have very easily edited that out.
Chronological order. It all started in Volume 1 with the creation of Velvet Scarlatina. Velvet made her first appearance in the episode titled Jaundice, which has...
You know what? Listening to this, other than the fuzz, which I would use like a noise filter now if I was recording using Audacity. I don't think I was even recording using Audacity at this point. I think I was still recording using Movie Maker. Because I did it in the worst possible way. Like, the worst possible way you could put together a video in 2016, I was doing it. I was doing everything wrong for a very long time. I still don't do things right half the time. You know, I'm kind of a lazy bastard like that. You really think I'm going to spend a lot of time editing this video? No, I got everything all set up so that I can just cut out all my little... I can cut all that out. I'm leaving all that stuff in for your enjoyment, though. Just to demonstrate what I do end up cutting from the audio.
It's gone down as the worst episode in the show. The people who say it's the worst aren't correct, in my opinion.
This is the worst seen episode in the show thus far. I don't agree with that anymore. Well, obviously, Volume 5 happened after this. And we've had some doozies after that as well. But I don't necessarily agree that Jaundice was even the worst episode in Volume 1. It probably is, but there's things in... Actually, no. Jaundice is the worst. I was thinking of the scene with Ruby and Jean in the hallway. That's technically from the following episode, Forever Fall. But yes, Jaundice is the worst episode in Volume 1. And this was the worst episode in Volume 3. I do stand by that. It was the second episode of Volume 3. There have been a lot worse since then. A lot of it in Volume 5. But even like... I'd say there's one episode in Volume 7. And probably... I didn't like the second episode of Volume 9. Like, at all. Like, I had a really hard time with that episode. I don't think it would be worse than this, though. This scene is garbage, though. This was the 30 seconds of this dude. I think his name was, like, Nolan. Being an absolute dumbass and letting Nora power up.
But they aren't exactly wrong, either. There's a few things to like about this episode, but there is a lot to hate. Yes. We see Velvet getting bullied by generic high school drama antagonist model number 869235. Codename?
869235. That was something. I can't remember what that was a reference to now. 869235. It's not TK421. That would be Star Wars. 0451 is the Looking Glass code. I don't know. Maybe it was just random. Because I feel like it was a reference. Hold on. Let me...
869235. Code
yeah,
name?
I think it was just random.
Later in that same episode, she raises her hand when Oobleck asks if there's anyone in the class who have...
Ooh. So this is a mistake I still make sometimes because frame-by-frame editing... when you're... See... I've actually ran into this problem more recently than back then. Or, well, Movie Maker was the worst, but I've ran into this more with Sony Vegas than I did with Adobe, where you'll have random frames that shouldn't be in there.
If there's anyone in the class...
Yeah, see that Oobleck there, I would have tried to cut around him. Like, I would have actually re-edited and re-uploaded this video if I did it today. To get that out of there. But the reason why a lot of that stuff happens is because RWBY is in 24 frames per second, but in Sony Vegas, it goes by 30 frames per second. Like, you can't really render something out at 24 frames per second in Sony Vegas. Or at least, I haven't ever really gotten it to work. They don't use this as an opportunity to hint at Blake's origin. True, they don't. They did not hint at Blake's origin at all in the first 3 volumes. That's why her parentage kind of came out of nowhere.
Who have been marginalized for being a faunus. And that's it. Velvet is never
probably
mentioned
driving
again
you
in the
all
volume.
nuts
In fact,
by not having this
look
full
up the
screen
credits, you
and
wouldn't
having
even
all
know
this
her
here.
name, let alone that she's a play on the Velveteen Rabbit, which is fitting because Katie Ward has the acting range of a children's toy.
It's true. It is true. I don't like to insult independent actors anymore. But that was kind of a good joke. Velveteen Rabbit, what an acting. Get it? I don't like to be mean. Like, a lot of early, like, Volume 4 reviews and podcasts, I try to play up the whole mean thing because that's just what gets views. But I'm not like that in real life, so I kind of stopped being like that on camera.
But, leading into Volume 2, something happened. For some ungodly reason, people actually liked...
That line delivery was so bad. For some ungodly reason, Like, you could tell that I cut together 3 takes there.
The character. They wanted more of so
I
the
don't
writers
mind
in
that
their
delivery.
that
was
decided to give her a team, a weapon, and an outfit.
reference.
Only they couldn't actually be bothered to do any of these things because her weapon's dumb, her team sucks, and her outfit is the product of a fan contest, which just got the
All
Velvet
true.
fanboys more invested in seeing her in action. Then Volume 2 kicked off, and Team Coffee made their debut in a few frames of the opening credits. They were mentioned in the episode.
There's another out-of-place frame with the Ironwood from Volume 2, although that happens every time I try to use something from that opening, because it is so fast. In that section especially, like, everybody is there for, like, 3 frames, which means if you're trying to talk about it for more than, like, a blip, you will end up having some janky-looking footage.
Extracurricular. Weiss says that they're out on a mission that's taking them longer to complete than expected, so Weiss and
I'm
Yang
not
took
confident
over
on
their
this
role as
mic.
party planners. What is this
I'm
mission?
still not.
What could possibly keep this
but
team
I've
away
gotten
for so
a lot
long?
better.
It doesn't matter because this was just an excuse to give the animators more time to finish their models. They do debut a few episodes later.
I don't know if that's true.
Lines and
I just hit my
nice
table, by the way.
Ward.
I don't know if that's true. I can't confirm that. I heard somewhere that was the case, and I took it as wrote. But to this day, I don't actually know if Team Coffee were cut from the dance sequence because they hadn't finished the models yet. I know that was the case with Neo. Like, she wasn't in the trailer because she didn't have a character model yet. And then they just inserted her into those episodes.
Upgraded from a stuffed doll to a wooden one. Truly a paragon of charisma, this one. Oh, and as I said, the entire coffee mission subplot that was introduced as the pseudo-mystery or critical moment means about as much as their contribution to the plot. That is to say, fucking all. And then they aren't mentioned again.
It's about nothing.
In case you don't
Seinfeld
remember,
reference.
or for some reason think that Volume 2's ending
kind
wasn't a complete pile of horseshit, allow me to summarize. Team RWBY
I got a lot better at cursing. So, fun fact, I think I've said this on the podcast, I used to never curse. And I still don't in front of, like, kids or family members. Like, I just don't. I've never been about that. But I feel like it's dishonest for me not to curse, because I do, like, think in curses. I'm from North St. Louis. Like, that's just, we use fuck as a filler word. Like, that's the place, the guy with the fucking, I don't know why that was, but I got a lot better at cursing, and I just got a lot better at presenting myself, and, the teaching stuff helped. The teaching stuff really helped. I was just starting to do classroom teaching at this time. I hadn't really worked at a classroom yet by this point. That started like the fall 2016. That I started doing the student teaching, and that is what gave me my voice. For real.
Kill a bunch of disenfranchised youth who we know from earlier in the volume are new recruits, and they do so with smiles on their faces. Blake beats Torchwick without even breaking a sweat, which makes Blake and Yang look like absolute morons for being...
I have no idea how I missed that. I must have written that, recorded that, edited the audio around that, then edited the video around it.
Even breaking a sweat, which makes Blake and Yang look...
Makes Blake and Yang look?
Like absolute morons.
Look like absolute morons?
I don't understand.
Okay,
I'm the
okay.
only one who can do this.
Okay, so I was making fun of how they were being worded. Okay, I thought I missed that it actually made Weiss and Yang look pathetic because they lost their fights. They both got their asses kicked in that episode.
No, you don't understand. If Roman Torchwick walked through that door, what would you do? I'd fight him.
Yeah. She probably would have lost because of her mental state.
You'd lose.
So, I think I do address that here.
Me.
If I don't address that, I definitely... You cannot do sound mixing in Movie Maker. You are stuck with the audio you were given. Just that was really rough. That was really rough. I'm sorry, guys. Just 2 days later. Yes, it was just 2 days later too. God. I love that episode in Volume 2 with Blake and Yang. This is why I call back to it so many times. But the follow up, not so much. I need to turn it down. It's amazing. It's amazing what a little bit of sleep will do to a person. Those are some pretty slick moves. No offense to the animators on Volume 2. They did good jobs.
And
most of the
raises
time.
questions on why Torchwick eluded capture for so long. Another plot point that is never even hinted at being explained.
True. They never explain why he's able to elude the huntsman.
So instead of derailing the train or sticking together and mopping up everyone, Team RWBY does the cutting strategy of splitting up and taking everyone on one-on-one.
No, not cunning. What's the opposite of that? Retarded! That's it, thank you!
And
Team 4-star. I don't actually mind that word. I've used it. I've never actually used it against somebody who would actually take offense to it, though. Or should be able to take offense to it. I've only used it against people who would take offense to it, who have no business being offended by it. It's like calling a white girl the N-word.
so the bombs go off. Grimm get into the city, and before everyone gets hurt, these assholes come in and damn near ruin the entire freaking show. I could go on and on about how the breach is absolutely pointless and it makes all of Volume 2 filler, but this isn't about how it was Ozpin students that put in most of the work, so Ironwood being put in charge of security makes no sense. This isn't about how Ironwood being in charge of security is an underwhelming plot point. This isn't...
You know what else it isn't about? It isn't about Blake and Yang fighting Torchwick. Yet I spent how long? Like 3 minutes? Yeah, like 2.5 minutes.
About
Spent
how
2.5
the big
minutes on
conflict
that.
the volume has been building towards is resolved in less than half the episode, and the other half
low-res
is setting up
finger
for Volume
quotes
3,
image.
with some of the stuff being rendered non-canon,
misplaced
so
images.
what was the point?
Yes.
This is about...
I'm actually still salty about that. The whole Raven post-credit scene being declared not canon still, like, annoys me.
Team Coffee. Fox and Yatsuhashi don't even get any lines. Velvet gets ready to fight, and Coco tells her to stand down. And then Coco kills everything in a few seconds. I hate non-reveals. This is the only piece of
Yes, the Ozpin thing was a non-reveal as well.
that we ever get about Velvet's weapon before it gets revealed, to the disappointment of any viewer with any sense. And that's really the gist of it. At its worst, RWBY doesn't do anything to build up or pay off. They just act like they do. They'll have a throwaway line, then Miles will go on Twitter, and the fandom will go nuts, and hacks on YouTube will make long-winded theories about it.
I was feuding with Jake the One Man Band at this time because of the whole Team Theory situation.
You guys realize that we're the problem here. Okay, I actually do like the fight scene in Volume 3, mostly because after Coffee took away any stakes the show could have had and rendered any threat of the Grimm into being as threatening as a brisk rain. It is so...
Yeah, sometimes the metaphors, they get away from me.
Satisfying to watch the worst part of the show get their asses handed to them by legitimately interesting characters.
Are they, though? Are they interesting? Are they interesting past me? Are they really?
And then there's Velvet and her weapon. We see her using the camera a few times late in the volume. Then its function is revealed, and can I just say...
Weird pauses that I would not have in a video anymore. Like, I've actually cut audio probably too close a couple times in my last couple videos, where I could have had a pause or a beat, but not back then.
Hey, screw you. Screw everyone that had anything to do with this scene. Screw the artists, screw the writers, screw
I don't
the
like
animators.
that anymore.
It would be
I don't
one
stand
thing if
by
she
all
just
that.
copied people's weapons. That could be cool. It
I
could even
do
work if she
dislike
copied their
the
movesets.
concept of
They
Velvet
could
being
even
a
go into some
copycat,
deep character stuff
but
with
I
that.
don't
All
like
semblances are supposed to
the
reflect
very
something in some.
the very forced fake vitriol there. Like I didn't even sell it. Like if I sold it, it'd be like, fine, I don't agree with it, but no, at least I sold it. Like I didn't even sell the emotion.
Soul, something that is fundamental to their very being. So someone who doesn't
That
have
was
a single original
how I
attack,
saw semblances.
yeah, you could do a lot of confidence themes with that.
That
but
is
they
how I
don't
saw
just do
semblances.
that.
That was not the
They
case
copy
though.
the camera angles. They copy the transitions. They do the copycat fighter in the
Kinda,
absolute laziest way possible. You mean to tell me that DBZ can't get away with repetitive physical narrative, but this blatant self?
They do though. Dragon Ball absolutely gets away with it. Just not in my mind. Like that was just my own criticisms of Dragon Ball bleeding through and me assuming that people don't have those same problems.
Grandizing insult to all things creative gets heralded. 10 out of 10. Scene of the year all years. Who cares that all Velvet did was stop 2 Max before getting slapped and saved by Wise to conclude
Again, I got a lot better at cursing.
an arc that actually had some pathos. But no.
Yes.
Everybody has to
I don't even know who that is. I think I was just looking for a random like reaction thumbnail. No, I don't like making fun of Murderer Birds. He's actually a really cool dude. He is actually fun to poke fun of because he is so over the top and campy, and also I don't think he minds. Like I think he I don't know how much of it is an act, but I do know that he likes to clown on himself as well, and that he's always been really cool about it. Like we've talked.
defend their precious bunny waifu while Weiss gets the shaft. And
random
Weiss isn't the only one.
noises.
Did you know Team Sun was conceived before Juniper? Yeah, they were going to be the typical foreign exchange student team, but because the fans drooled over Lola Rabbit over here, Team Sun got shafted and their part in Volume 2 and 3 got diminished so that the animators could finish the coffee scenes.
I'm not sure how much of that is
would it
true.
have been if it was Team Sun at the end of Volume 2? Yeah, reducing the Grim to a non-threat would still suck, Magnum Dong, but it would have at least make the transition of Sun's role a little better executed.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that. That Team Sun should have gotten more to do in Volumes 2 and 3.
Coco is that girl you couldn't stand in high school, and Velvet does nothing but make the show worse with their very existence.
I can't speak for everybody. That's another thing I stopped doing.
Character bit. My biggest compliment for Volume 4 is that they cut a lot of fat out of the show. And the biggest piece of fat they cut was Team Coffee, who aren't even mentioned in the volume.
Another awkward
Is it
pause.
any wonder that despite Volume 3 being more narratively satisfying, I put Volume 4 above it? If you like Team Coffee,
that was a big reason why I like Volume 4
I don't understand how anyone can think they're good for the show, but I don't care to understand either. They aren't important. They were never important. And
that is the truest thing in this entire video. They have not appeared since Volume 3. They had their books, and their books are of dubious canonicity. They might be in Volume 10. They were in Vacua last I checked. But they have not appeared in the show proper ever since Volume 3, which was a year before this video came out.
Now that Velvet's weapon is revealed, there is literally no reason to care anymore. I'm Mediocrity4. Now excuse
me. Hold on. That was a whole mess of edits. So
anymore. I'm Mediocrity.
RWBY, my original profile picture, drawn by Kitty Kirishima, the once and always great. So Rubiondo, see.
34. Now excuse me.
Random fire frame, and then that's right, MIS was a thing I did for about 4 episodes. I actually really liked the Hellfire video. I actually went back and watched that not too long ago. It holds up. I was just trying to remember, like, there's a time where I was watching my non-RWBY content, and I ended up watching through the 4 episodes of MIS, and the Hellfire one is one of the 4 that holds up the best. But yeah, that was an honest look at Team Coffee. Next time isn't going to have as much of a preamble, but the videos are going to be just as long, if not longer. But we'll try to get through an honest look at Ruby Rose. That is Ruby and Mary Sue. Go ahead and do that one, and then Blake Weiss fight scenes, and then we'll end off the next video with Yang. It might be an hour or 2 long, but Yang is a good point to end because honest look at Yang marks a turning point in my entire YouTube thing. It was the last thing I did before Volume 5, and it was the first thing I did with Adobe Premiere. So look forward to checking all that out. Catch you all next time.